Now, we're going to talk about the future of your product, the future of your brand, the future of your category. So we use this word future very, very loosely. And in fact, I'm not even sure that we really know what we mean when we say the word future. So I'm going to say something that you're going to find all a little bit crazy to begin with, at least anyway. So I hope that by the end of this section that you'll understand what we mean when I say that in the consumer mind, or even in the human mind, let's cast a broader net and talk about human beings, even in the human mind, the past, the present, and the future all exist in what we call an eternal present. They all exist right now. The past, the present, and the future exist right now. So we're quite willing to admit, right? We're quite willing to admit that we can access the past in a consumer, right, or a respondent or whatever, or a viewer, or a voter, doesn't really matter what. We're quite willing to admit that we can access that past, and we think we can access that past. We're going to do kind of all memory games and what people know about brands and products and categories. That's fine. And we're quite willing to admit that the past has shaped the present, right? There's no question that the past is shaping the present. But the thing that we often forget about the past is that it's not the past. It's actually in the present. Our past experiences and our memories are actually existing in the present. And that's where traumas are a problem. Traumas are a problem because it's all about things happening in the past are actually overtaking what is happening to me in the present. Okay, so that's an indication that the past, our memory, is more important than what's happening to us right now. Not always, but a lot of the time. But however, what we're finding is that when we're studying brands and categories, that our imprint, if you like, or the past, is often more important than what we know or say about the brand in the present. Because in reality, all we're talking about is the present. Okay, so the past existed, there's no question about that, but it continues to exist eternally in our collective memories and it exists in an eternal present. So, what about the future? How can we say that we can predict the future? Well, the paradox here is that we can't really predict the future. No one can predict the future with any real accuracy. We can hypothesize. But let's take this argument to its logical conclusion, which means that if the past, the present, and the future all exist in an eternal present, that means that the future, believe it or not, also exists right now. So what are we basically saying? Aren't we actually saying, or haven't we always been taught that we determine our own future? Right? Unless you're really fatalistic or believe in the divine hand of some spiritual being as guiding us through our lives, we all believe, human beings believe, that we make our own future, which means that the future is present. If we make our own future, we're making it right now. Okay, we're making it right now, so which means we're making it in the present. So the future is also constructed from the present as well. So when you open up marketing textbooks, or you go into different marketing organisations and they've got these very clever slogans up on the wall, things like, for example, marketing trying to understand the future by looking at the past is akin to driving a car whilst looking in the rear vision mirror. I think I've read that somewhere in some clever marketing textbook. But that doesn't mean anything. Actually, that is actually a huge misunderstanding of the way that the consumer mind actually works, right? It's a clever line, right? And marketing's full of these clever lines, but they're not really helping us to understand how to get to the future. I'm saying, and I'm hypothesising, and we have evidence to suggest that the future exists right now. The future is in fact staring at you in the face right now, but we can't see it. This is the problem. Things are constantly looking at us, the future is looking at us, but we can't see it. So we need to have a set of glasses that understand what the future actually looks like by, believe it or not, determining the present. If we can properly understand the present, when I say properly, I mean understand all of the unconscious and subconscious perceptions that we have about the present, therein lies your pathway for the future. And that word pathway is also a very, very important word because we're not predicting the future. All we can really do is develop particular kinds of pathways. So for any brand or any category or any problem to do with consumers or voters or or messaging or anything like that, we actually have to understand that by understanding the unconscious of the present, we can develop pathways for the future. There might be one pathway, two pathways, three pathways that we need to explore. But that future will only be realised when we explore those pathways. Those pathways exist in your consumer right now. They are implicit in the consumer right now. It's just that we often lack the sensitivity and lack the technique, and in fact lack the willingness to understand the unconscious of your respondent or your consumer so that we can properly understand the future. So the future is now is not just some superficial tagline. It's actually a very, very insightful message. But I don't like to call it the future. It's now I like to say that the future is actually present.